So yesterday, my oldest son and I ran some errands. It was a weekday, but he was off. They have some sort of administrative holiday at his school, and so I had to go to the doctor, and I said, "Well, just go ahead and drive me because afterwards, I wanted to take him to get his car serviced. He's only 17, but I just purchased him a nice car, Mercedes-Benz 300C." So it's a nice vehicle, very nice. I like quality sort of vehicles like that, and I think that's a good start. He's earned it. Great student, wonderful child, very obedient. But nevertheless, we left the doctor's office, and first thing I wanted to do was get him a car wash. So we went up to the one of the local places here in the Houston area. And as you guys know, I live in Houston, and one of the more prominent cities or communities is Sugar Land in the Fort Bend County area. And so we went out to a place near the Sugar Land Mall, a place where I used to get my old schools hand washed. And as we were waiting in line, we moved seats. I went from being inside after his car passed to outside. Now, as you sit outside, there are workers working. And my son took the seat furthest from me, or furthest from the edge. And so I took a middle seat on a bench. And off to my left, there was a relatively young Caucasian woman. She looked to be either in her mid-30s, early 40s. She had an overcoat on. It's the middle of the day, by the way. And that tells you a lot. The location also tells you a lot. As I said, we're in Sugar Land near the mall. And I believe a few years back, Sugar Land was voted one of the top 10 places to live in America. And so, there are a lot of very prominent, successful businessmen, athletes, very wealthy people that live in that area. And I happen to live in that Fort Bend County corridor. Nevertheless, as I sat, now mind you, I sat next to her not on purpose and not directly next to her. There was at least 3 or 4 feet. There was the same distance between myself and this young white woman as it was for my son. But nevertheless, we're looking at our cars being cleaned by the workers, and there's some sort of kerfuffle that occurs between the two workers. And one of them tells him he's lazy, so it's just entertainment, sort of a bit comical. And I'm like caught aback a little bit. And so the lady next to me, she makes a comment to me. Now, let me properly set the scene. I've already established where I was. I had a collar shirt on, button-up linen, white pants, hard shoes. I got my Rolex. I got my gold rope chain. And I also have my nugget link on and my marriage ring, okay? And so all of this is present. Plus, I got my son there. He's dressed like a teenager. I think he has some sweats on or whatever. But she purposely made a statement to me commenting on what the employees were doing. And her posture was definitely real laid back. She was chilling. You see what I mean? She's observing. And it reminds me so much just how it tells you so much when you begin to unlock the way in which women communicate. You really begin to know. Now, of course, it was just me and my son and I. And so at some point I said, yeah, I'm Dennis, and this is my son, Dennis. And we're just waiting to get his car washed. Nevertheless, she commented right after the initial comment. I'm like, yeah, wow, it's amazing. Kind of playing stunned, but I'm peeping her out the whole time. Now, again, I got a good woman. I got a woman that cooks and cleans, that's cooperative, okay, that speaks Spanish. In fact, once we get the paperwork together, I'm gonna be able to get my papers, okay? So I'm not gonna be a passport bro, a retired passport bro. I'm gonna be a straight immigrant in another country. Nevertheless, fam, I'm not messing this up. You got a good woman you need to hold on to. I'm not messing this up at all. I mean, it's hard to find good women. Women always talk about how hard it is to find good men. I tell you fellas all the time, do not cheat on your lady. You do not, number one, you shouldn't do it because you made an agreement. Okay, whether she's your girlfriend or your wife, you made an agreement to be in a relationship with her. Hell with what the paperwork says. You, as a man, stood on business and said, "Hey, I'm going to be with you. You're going to be with me." So you shouldn't do anything that interferes. There should be no transgressions against the relationship. As the man, you need to maintain a more high ground. Nevertheless, it's so easy for me to see women coming now. This white woman saw a middle-aged black man. She saw a man who obviously, dressed well, middle of the day. I'm there in the middle of the day. We're both in the Sugar Land area. My son is driving a C300, damn near brand new. And he's 17, so that lets you know a lot. And I'm sitting there with a Rolex on and looking real relaxed, I'm out here looking moisturized and relaxed, okay? So she peeped it out. She saw somebody that she wanted to throw a hook at. And what the thing is, I could have bit, right? If I just needed the validation just to see how far I would go, I could have bit, but then to what end? You see? I began to explain to my son what was going on, and as we drove off, I said goodbye, nice to meet her, thank you so much, very polite, very respectful, and left, got in my car and left. Again, you have to begin to understand how women work, and I'm getting to a point. The whole point of me having this conversation with you fellas is you got to learn to avoid desperate and broke women. And I'm not saying that woman was desperate or broke, but the fact that she was low-key opening up the door, I'm not going to say go so far as flirting, but the door was open. I understand the location, I understand the look, I understand what was going on, and I understand how women communicate. Women open, and I explained to my son, I said, she would not have spoken to me. And I use this by analogy. I said, son, do you think she would have spoken to me if I was a homeless man? No. I said, so why do you think she spoke to me? Well, she spoke to you because she wanted to, right? She spoke to me because she wanted to open the door and let me know it was acceptable for me to speak to her. Now, here's the thing. Again, you need to avoid desperate and broke women. There are a lot of them out there. We're getting to a point where a lot of these millennials have gotten to the point where they are 30, 40, and the Generation X is just, they're damn near 60 at this point. But we have a lot of women who realize that they've been led astray by feminism. Look at all the homeless women out there. Look at all the broke women. Somebody type broke women in the chat room. They are broke and they are looking for men to save them, okay? And the last thing you fellas want to do is entertain a broke woman, especially if you have one. And you have to learn to be able to interpret women's body language, their conversation, and sometimes it takes years to do this. Let me give you another story, okay? But before that, I want to make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit the #1 button if you're here. Another situation, man. A few weeks ago, I went down to Miami. Some of y'all might remember that. Somebody typed 304 in the chat room. I'm sorry, 305. Somebody typed 305 in the chat room. Somebody typed MI in the chat room. So me and my lady and I, we went down to Miami, just a little weekend getaway. And we ended up at Swan for dinner. We got off the plane. She made reservations. And so we ended up going to Swan over, I forget what part, I forget what district it's in. But Swan in the shopping district, is in the museum district, I'm not sure. I forget what it's called. But bottom line is we went down to Swan, and normally I sit outside by where the fountain is. And some of you guys who remember that birthday party that spontaneous birthday party that we had for Kevin Samuels, it was outside near the fountain, but we went inside this time. Because it's so hot down there, it's still the South. South Florida. So we went inside and we had our dinner. The food's okay. It's not that good there, but we just kind of go there for ambiance. Wasn't a very busy night. But about halfway through, about 45 minutes into the dinner, golly, about 11 or 12 women walked in. they probably were all under the age of 30. I'm looking maybe 25. Look all right. I saw some 6s. I saw some 8s. I have my back to them because I'm sitting and I'm facing my lady. She's across the table from me. Nevertheless, I paid for the meal, and I said, baby, I'll be right back. I'm going to the restroom. As you guys know, my woman's 24, beautiful woman, as I said. Bottom line is something that I want to hold on. So I got up, I went to the bathroom, okay? And if anybody who's been to Swan, you know you got to walk through some different corridors to get to the bathroom. So I get to the bathroom, all right? As I emerge from the hallway, the final hallway, and I look across the room at the table where I was sitting, my lady's not there. So my table is to the right. This pack of ladies is to the left, all right? So I could have made the mistake of walking over to my table and sitting back down. I assumed that my woman had gone to the bathroom, which makes sense. So I stopped short. Why is the question you should be asking me. Why did I stop short? And in fact, I stopped short at the bar and put my elbow on the bar and faced the bathroom hallway where I know my woman was going to be coming out of. Okay? Now, some of y'all, let me get in tight. Somebody type huddle up in the chat room. Let me get in tight, man. So what you fellas have to understand about women. Number one, it was 11 of them. It wasn't a crowded night. Wasn't a whole lot of men in there. I'm probably the only man in there. Okay? Again, I'm rocking the Rolex. I got the gold on. I'm dressed well. I'm with a beautiful woman who looks better than them. And we're sitting at the table. And so I didn't even want to speak to them. I didn't even want them to say something like, oh, your lady went to the bathroom. Because most of y'all men are stupid. And you would have thought, oh, wow, this 304 is just trying, this 304 and the 305 is trying to be helpful. No, she's not. She's trying to spark up a conversation with you. Not even because she wants to deal with you in any kind of way, just because she wants to be messy. Women are messy like that, all right? I'm sitting here with a beautiful woman. They over there tired and by themselves. And so I just stopped short at the bar because I can already foresee the type of conversations. I go over there and sit down. They, under the auspices of them being helpful, they say, oh, yeah, your lady got up and went to the bathroom. She'll be right back. Oh, yeah, are y'all new here? We conversate. Next thing you know, my lady will be emerging from the bathroom and seeing me, my big head turned around, sparking up a conversation with this pack of hyenas. You see what I'm saying? That's not a good look. Because if the roles were reversed, right, it looks suspicious. Somebody typed suspicious in the chat room. It looks suspicious, okay? It looked like I was moving funny, okay? But Uncle D don't play them games, so I stopped my butt right at the bar. They over there. I'm looking over here. I'm looking where my lady at, baby? Woo, it's time to get out of here. And when my lady came back, when she finally emerged from the bathroom, she thought that was so funny because she's seen me do that so many times. I tell her all the time just how shady women are. Women know how shady women are. Women know how shady they are. And see, the thing is, fam, it takes, and just anticipate, and heaven forbid, let's say I went over there and sat down, and then even if I start looking at them from the bar, one of them might have been looking for the opportunity to say, oh yeah, your lady's in the bathroom. And then she would have been screaming across the room, yeah, I'm glad she found you. Still messy. You see what I mean? Desperate women do desperate things and you got to avoid them. All of them look broke. Okay? It looked like they got that angel perfume from Walmart and some Forever 21 clothes on with them little cheap shoes with the little bottom of the heel that falls off. I'm like, nah. Desperate and broke. That's what you got out there. But the thing is, fellas, you have got to learn to read the signs. All my high value men, you don't want a desperate woman and you don't want a broke woman. But the thing is, you really don't understand how women communicate. Women have an unspoken way of communicating, and it literally takes decades of observation to see women and observe their behavior to truly understand how they get down and the language that they speak. It's nonverbal. It can be verbal. And sometimes they say something that means something else. The way in which they speak to you, the way in which they look. And the problem is, as far as boys are often kept separate from little girls, so they never actually get a chance to observe women and see how they operate. And here's another cold part about it. It's one thing if you grew up with a lot of women, you can pick up some information at that point, but that's in a familiar setting. Okay, that's between grandma and sisters and cousins and aunties and whatnot. That's a different situation than when you see these women out on the prowl, when you see them looking for romantic prospects. That's when you really start seeing how they get down. Okay, and remember, the other thing you have to understand is, if you're a high value man and you have money, you're gonna get a lot of women trying to flirt with you. It doesn't matter what age you are. If you're giving off signals of success, high status, especially if you have a beautiful woman with you, man, they're gonna be throwing signals at you. If you don't recognize them, that's one thing. But the bottom line is they are gonna be throwing these subtle signals at you. And if you don't pick them up, they don't like that. But if you do pick them up, then you open up a door. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of these women, especially these days, I see a lot of homeless women. I see a lot of women living in their cars. I see a lot of women committing crimes. I see a lot of women with children from men who they were cavorting with. I see, and the thing is, they've been cavorting with low-level men, okay? Now, this conversation is going to sound real elitist, but I don't care. You already know I don't care what you think. I'm here to try to upgrade the black community. We need to get back to being selective. Somebody type selective as hell in the chat room. Somebody type selective as hell in the chat room. If you have spent the time upgrading yourself and getting yourself together and becoming the man about town, the man in your city, you don't need to be dealing with low-level women. And how do you know, money is tight, okay? And these lovely ladies of all ethnicities are trying to level up. And it doesn't matter if she was that upper middle class white woman that was flirting with me at the car wash, or if it was those little 304s and the 305 that were waiting for me to turn around and throw them some attention. Okay, they're all desperate to a certain degree. You see, and they're broke and they want you. And if they didn't want you, if they weren't looking for you, if they didn't need anything from you, they wouldn't be trying to look for you. Okay, money is tight. Somebody type money is tight in this economy in the chat room. Money is tight, and they looking to level up, and they want to level up with a high value man. They literally want a high value man with money to come save them. If you listen to them, they want a man to come save them. Okay, not just any man. They want a man who's over 6 feet, who's wealthy, who's known. They want that. Okay. But here's the thing. These women who've been cavorting with these low-level men, you need to leave them on their level. It's not your job to come, she chose her level. It's not your job to upgrade her, okay? You should not be trying to upgrade women who chose to mess around with low-class men. That's not your job. You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a businessman, you're a truck driver, and she wants you to basically save her from the choice that she decided to mess with some low-level dude, somebody that doesn't even stand up to you. That's her type. The way you can tell the type of woman, a woman's level, is the type of man she sleep with. Check this out. So you got a lot of women, they mess around with low lifes. That's who they sleep with. I'm not even talking about women that mess with even get pregnant. Getting pregnant by a low life, that's clear evidence. That would be clear and convincing evidence. But there's some probable cause, by preponderance of evidence, I should say, we can see that you're messing with low lives. And leave those women on their level. Now, if they have a child, golly, you got a child by a Pookie, you got a child by a beach bum Brad. And I'm talking, this message is for all men, okay? Because again, all men are targets, and we getting into it now. It's a swirling festival in the United States. It's a lot of desperate women out there, and you need to avoid them. And what they're trying to do is, you as a high value man, you as a successful man, you should not be trying to upgrade women. who choose to mess around with low-life men. I'm going to say that over and over again. And look, I believe in second chances. Somebody type second chances in the chat room. I believe in second chances. But what you do is you let her go find some low-level man who's changed his life and let him give her a second chance. You don't be a high-value man and then step down and deal with. You already are settling for a woman. You're already settling. Why settle for a woman who's already made her choice to deal with low-level men? Because here's the thing. Well, let me say this. Your job is not to upgrade her. Your job is to find a good girl with a low body count who loves God and who's going to be cooperative with you and follow your plan. Because here's the thing. You can end up with one of these low-level type chicks who've dated low-level men, and you can marry her, you can have kids with her, but she's going to be longing for the day when she had that low-level Pookie or that beach bum Brad. And in her mind, she's going to be missing out because she can't bang Brad anymore, okay? Because she can't let Pookie's penis pipe her down anymore. And so she's going to be looking at you like she did you a favor. And that's what happens when you bring a woman's level up. You a high value man, you got a high level, you bring her level up, and then now she's thinking she's doing you a favor. So, and the substance of it is not there. Because she really didn't bring anything she didn't give you youth. She didn't give you premier access to her womb. She may have children by other men. She may be bringing STDs. On top of that, if nothing else, she's bringing a bunch of trauma and drama to the relationship. She has a lot of preconceived ideas. So as a high value man with somebody who is on his way up, somebody who is building his empire, you don't want to deal with that. You see? You do not want any parts of that. Look, here's the thing. I saw a video. This white woman. This white woman went on a date with a white man. Y'all know which video I'm talking about? She went on a date with a white man, and the white man found out that she had been dating black men, and he got up and left. Damn. Right? And some of y'all would say, oh, he's just racist. Look, whatever you think about that man's choice, whatever you care, it's not your job to justify it or not justify it. All you want to do is understand what his perspective is. And so now I want to explain to you all about social status, because that's in effect what we're talking about. You might not have liked what I said, but social status is relevant. See, the type of white women that mess around with black men, first of all, in my opinion, it's never really sincere. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. It's never really sincere. A lot of these white women, they date black men because they rebelling against their fathers. They you know, and they don't date the type of black men that are lawyers and doctors, upscale black men. Some do, but for the most part, they date low-level pookies. They want to get their rocks off. They want that gutter sex. They want that fantasy fulfilled. You see what I'm saying? So they're not dating Robert F. Smiths, you see, the billionaire. They're not dating these guys. They dating gutter dudes, okay? On top of that, if one of these white women was trying to date an upscale, upper middle class, high value black man, lawyer, doctor, engineer, whoever, businessman, and she couldn't hold on to him, that tells you a lot about her character. That lets you know what her level is. Now, as far as the racial aspect of it, you know, this white man didn't want to date this white woman who had already been dating other black men. So there's the racial aspect, and maybe he didn't want to fool with that. It's not for you to judge him. It's for you to understand what his perspective is. What if, for all the black dudes, the brothers that's listening, we got a lot of women who are divestors. Divestors are women who not only do they date out, but they also put black men down. They date out and then they talk reckless about black men, talk horribly about black men. Do you think as a black man that you should want to date her if she come running back after beach bum Brad has put her out? You think that's a good idea? Would you want to deal with a woman like that after beach bum Brad has given her the blues, Do you want to date that type of woman? How would that make you feel? What would you think about her? Huh? Because see, she wasn't just over there in love. She was over there disparaging black men. And that's the same goes for white women. You weren't just in love, you were over there talking reckless about white men. You're a white woman and you talking reckless about the men in your family. You talking reckless about your brothers, your grandfathers. And irrespective of your race, you know, you can date whoever you choose. But when you start talking about, you know, your own people, that turns you into nothing but a race hater, a traitor. And nobody likes a traitor. I don't care what your ethnicity is. And so when I look at some of these interracial relationships, not all, but when I look at them, especially the ones that fail, it's like, now why are you coming back now? Go stay over there where you are. And so I understand what this white fella was talking about. You can look, I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying it. I'm saying I get it. Because I feel the same way about black women who date out the race and talk reckless about black men while they over there. And then when they get their feelings hurt, they get stuck with a baby. Then they want to come back to the black community. Then they want black men to come save them. Nah, I'm cool on that. Okay? But the thing is, I want y'all to understand is, fellas, it's a lot of broke women out here. It's a lot of desperate women out here. They've made a lot of mistakes. They're eating, the feminism is making them eat their words. They're in situations where the rent is getting higher and the money is not. They looking around and they seeing the women who are in stable relationships with these average men. They're able to get houses. They're able to get stable lifestyle. They got somebody they can depend on. They have somebody to call when the tire goes flat. They have somebody who can pay that extra $125. When that gas bill is a little higher, when the snow needs to be shoveled, when the trash needs to be taken out. Because see, it's not just about money that you contribute as a man. You also contribute your services. Women don't want to be out there dumping trash. They got this little meme going on with this little cartoon with this this little, I forget her name, man. It's like a little cartoon girls used to watch. Kind of like the equivalent of a My Little Pony. But, you know, they got this woman dumping the trash and she's all huffed up. This little cartoon, and like, this is how women feel when they have to dump the trash. They don't want to do that manly stuff. It's not just about money. It's about them having to operate in this world as a man. So it's one thing to play masculine. It's another thing to have to be masculine and do masculine thing full time. See, a lot of these women, they like to be, I'm strong, independent, and don't need a man. Yeah, as long as there's a man around that can actually do the manly things. But when you got to get out there and change that tire, because you no longer cute enough to get a man to pull over and stop. See, a lot of those women that when Kevin Samuels came out 7 years ago, has it been 8 years ago? They were 28 then. See, they were 28 when Kevin first came out. Now they 38. They were in their 20s then, and now they looking at 40. It's one thing to be strong, independent, and don't need a man when there are men around to do the manly things. It's another thing to be strong, independent, and don't need a man and actually have to do that. It's hard on men. It's hard on men paying the bills. It's hard on men being out in this world and constantly having to be on edge and looking around with your head on a swivel because you don't know where the attacks are coming from. It's hard being a man for men. Now imagine a woman who's subject to her menstrual cycle, her emotional state. Not only does she have to be a man, but she got to be a man, and she doesn't have the equipment necessary to be a man. She doesn't have the strength. She doesn't have the stoic personality. She doesn't even have it in her. And now she's got to be a man, and she has to pay bills. And here's the cold part about it. The average woman lives to be, what, 80 years old? So you have women now who are 35, 37 years old who are looking at the fact that they no longer can bring in the caliber of men that they once could when they were 20. They've been in the game for almost 2 decades, and they still have 4 or 5 more decades to live. Fellas, I want you to put your empathy hats on. I want you to put yourself in the mind of the average woman. She graduated at college at 22, 23. Few failed relationships. Maybe she has a child. Okay, child's in 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever. All right, child will be grown soon. She's in a dead-end job making about $42,000, $45,000 a year. and now she's 40, or knocking on the door of 40. And she's realizing at this rate, I'm not going to even be able to retire till I'm 67. That's a whole nother, that's 30 years from now. I'm going to have to work like this for pennies for the next 30 years. I can't bring the men in I used to be. I can't even get a free date anymore. There are women out there that can't even get men to take them on a date like they used to 5 or 6 years ago. There was a time, what is that report came out? 2014, 2015, that said 30% of women use men for food dates. Well, that was almost, 10 years ago. So those same women who are 20, 24, 25, those women are 34, 35 now. They knocking on the door of 40, 4 decades. You're not about to take a 40-year-old woman out on foodie dates. You think she's going to be able to line that up? What 40-year-old man is taking her out on a date? A 50-year-old, because if she's 38, he needs to be older than that. And the way the situation is looking now with the passport bros and brothers and men in general saying, no, I'm good all the way around, they can't line it up like that. So you have a lot of desperate women out there who are broke and realize the only way I can truly come up is if I get some help. Not only are they not getting help, they don't even have men who are willing to even acknowledge them anymore. There's some scientific studies that go out and say that the older women get, the more men treat them like men. The more of a load they expect them to carry. Young women can get away. The young women in childbearing age, men and society generally treats them a little bit more delicate. But when a woman gets 55, 60 years old, she just looked like the villain. So I'm like, get your old self up out of it. You get treated like a man. And so that's what a lot of these women are encroaching on. So you have to put yourself in that mindset. Imagine being somebody who for the first, 25 years of their life, all they had to do was stick their hand out and somebody put it in their hand. Now, I ain't talking about the ugly chicks. Shout out to all the facially challenged women in the world. But nevertheless, the ugly women work hard. Shout out to the big girls and the ugly girls, man. I shouldn't say that. That's mean and ugly. Bad Uncle D, bad Uncle D. But the bottom line, the pretty girls, all they had to do is put their hand out. It was men there to buy them things, take them places, give them food. So it's the halo effect. Society always gave them what they want. They're imbued with good qualities and character solely because of their physical features. It's the halo effect. Somebody type that in the chat room. And y'all make sure y'all hit the super chat up if you hadn't already. Shout out to everybody who's contributing to the super chat. I see it rolling across there, man. Y'all make sure y'all show Uncle D some love for this good game. But the bottom line is you got a lot of women out there who are having a reality check now. See, they broke and they realizing they're going to be broke for the next 50 years, but they were too stupid to get them a man between the ages of 18 and 20 and 21 when they had the cream of the crop. They could have dug their little claws into a man and turned him into a sucker and held on to him and rode him on into the sunset, but they made a mistake. And so now they're looking at 50 years of a long time. They're looking at 50 years of not only are they not going to have the money they need, they're not going to have the resources nor the attention. Yeah, they might be able to hang out with some of their old friends. They might be able to go to dinner with some of their old friends, but women don't want to go to dinner with other women. Women are cheap. You think you're going to be able to go on a date with a woman as a woman and she's going to pay for the whole meal and pay for your entertainment? Huh? Nah, you're going to have to pay for it yourself, and money doesn't grow on trees. So a lot of these women are getting a reality check, so they're looking around and saying, well, what are my options at 35? What are my options? What are my options at 38? What are my options at 42? The same women that wouldn't give you a time of day when they were 22, now that they're 32 and 42, they running after you. They're desperate. And I'm not saying these are women that are broke. These are educated women, some of them. These are women with jobs. These are women with finances, but they still don't want to spend their own money. They want to spend your money and keep their money. That's the selfishness. They're into hoarding. That's what women do. They hoard resources. So it's a lot of psychology going on. But the bottom line is, fellas, you have got to protect yourself. You have got to leave these broke women on the level in which they are. You cannot upgrade a broke woman. Now, the caveat to that, if she's young and broke, All right, you 40, she 20. All right, you broke, you young, but you don't have a lot of mileage. You trainable. You're a good girl. You don't have a lot of trauma. I'll work with you. But what a 40-year-old man is willing to do for a 20-something-year-old woman, he's not willing to do for another 40-year-old woman. It's just biology does not allow us to do that. We are socialized to treat older women as though they are like men. And look, you don't have to be mad at me, but go ask the anthropologist. Go ask the anthropologist how society treated elderly women in societies past. They just don't. We don't treat them with that delicate sort of feel, because when women are young, they're breeding age, and we don't want them doing a whole lot of labor. We don't want to mess up their ability to reproduce, so we treat them with kid gloves for the most part. We let them get away with things. We let them tell white lies. We let them get away with crimes. Even now, you go to women are punished less than men, because you can if you have an island full of women and one man, that island will flourish. That island can be repopulated. If you have an island full of men and one woman, nothing's gonna happen there but death. You understand me? Nothing at all. And so that's ingrained in our socialization as human beings. And so we protect young women. But by the time a woman gets 45, 50 years old and she's beyond, it's just something biological within us, something that has ingrained with us that we just don't treat them like that. So now you have men who are 40, 50 years old. They'll treat a 20-year-old woman way different than they treat a 40, 50-year-old woman. Matter of fact, if you're a 40 or 50-year-old woman, as a 40 or 50-year-old man, unless you actually bringing something to the table, unless you're an employee, unless you are a business partner, I have nothing for you. And because see, here's the other thing. As a 40, 50-year-old man, you're in your empire building state. A mature, normal 40, 50-year-old, 60-year-old man, you should be in your empire building state. You're in your king phase. Somebody type king phase. We about to go deep. We about to go deep. I was actually trying to tune this thing out and get on back to inside the house, okay, with the AC. But now, let's talk about it. Somebody type king phase in the chat room. You're in your king phase. You're in your empire building stage. You are in your legacy phase. You don't need validation from women anymore to validate your manhood. You are not interested in women for their sex, especially if you got your woman. You into your money, you into your power, you into your legacy. A mature, normal man. Your libido drops, your testosterone drops. You into making money. Somebody type money in the chat room. And this is where, if you men are lucky, you fellas who are listening to me, if you're lucky, you'll get to this stage. I hope you do. I hope you mature. I hope you're not chasing skirts for the rest of your life. I hope you find a good, decent woman who loves you, who respects you, who caters to you, and that you can reciprocate. I hope that you find that. That is a true blessing. A woman that brings out the best in you, that takes care of all those things so that you can begin to build and you can be a king. You can enter into your king phase with grace. I hope you're not chasing skirts and flying overseas and doing the passport bro thing at 55, 60 years old. I hope you're not, brother. I hope you're not. And I say that with all love and respect to all my passport bros. Enjoy it. Have a good time. If you're fresh out of divorce, cool. You can't find the prospects that you want here in the United States. Got it, get it, understand. But at some point, you got to bring all that to an end, and you got to become the man that you're supposed to be. And you got to enter into your king phase. So as far as being in your king phase, unless a woman is bringing some money to the table, unless she's enhancing your legacy, if she's an employee, if she's doing a task for you, you really don't need her for her sexual attention. That's just not something that you're interested in. You shouldn't be interested in as a mature man. You don't need women to validate you. Young boys need women to validate them. They have contests. How many DMs can I slide in? How many phone numbers can I get back in the day? How many women's attention? You need that because that makes you feel better about your masculinity and your manliness. As an older man, as a man who's in his building phase, his king phase. Nah. The way you keep scores with what you own, what you control, how much money you have. So the game changes. So if I'm a 50-year-old man and there's a 50-year-old woman, number one, I'm not interested in your female attention. And if I am going to be dealing with a woman, it's going to be a woman that I'm physically and sexually attracted to, and she's going to be in her prime. Why shouldn't a king have a queen? You see? Nobody wants that from you. Number one, I'm not really interested because I'm into making money, power, and legacy at 40 and 50 years old. More likely than not, I've already had enough relationships that the thrill is gone. Somebody typed the thrill is gone in the chat room. And unless you bringing money to the table, unless we got something like a partnership, you might not even get me to speak to you. I've gotten to the point now, and most men will tell you, if it's not making dollars, it don't make sense. I don't even get involved in it. That's what your king phase does. It's all business. We have a little fun, but we don't hang out with our friends as much. Our friends, we've diverged. I'm talking about the high value man. This is not a conversation for everybody. If you still hanging out at the sports bar, hanging out at the club at 50 years old, this conversation is not for you. The type of functions I go to are people getting elected to judge. I go chip them off a couple G's. I go to private functions. I go to private costume parties with upper middle class, rich people that are in business. You see, this is where you at. It's about the connections. It's about making sure I can pave a way for the next generation. It's about power, money, legacy. That's what it's about in your king phase. So the last thing I'm going to be concerned about is some woman who's 40 or 50 years old flirting with me. I don't need that. That doesn't do anything for me. Now, if you come say, hey, look, I got a business opportunity for you, you might be able to get my ear. That might work. But I don't need that female sexual attention anymore. Number one, I got a woman. Number two, I've read you across the room. I already know what I know what you want. You see? Just like that white woman that I talked about earlier over in Sugarland. I know what you want. I know what you see because I can see what you see. I am emotionally intelligent enough as a mature man, and I've dealt with enough women that I can put myself in your eyes and I see what you see. And therefore, because I know what you want, I already know where you're headed. Just like you know which way that rabbit is headed, you can cut him off. And see, that's what comes with maturity. But the thing is, fellas, be careful. Don't get caught up. Fellas, let me tell you again, if you got a good woman, hold on to it. Don't get caught up. Don't let one of these desperate, thirsty women come at you with some validation games or some unnecessary conversation and have you mess up what you got going on at home. See, I'm not one of these fake dudes that over sympathizes with women. I don't do that. Y'all know that. Uncle D love you. I keep it 100 with you. But if you got a good thing, fellas, hold on to it. Don't let these women who are desperate and thirsty, they just like women. They just like people throwing fishing lines into the ocean. They trying to catch something. Okay, you already packed your stuff up in the cooler. You got your sea bass. You know what I mean? Boat just came in. You got 10, 15 red snapper. You done hit the limit. You packing your stuff up. You headed home, right? And what they're doing, they still out there fishing. So don't get caught up. Don't trust these women like that. And look, it is what it is, man. You should not, if you're a successful man, if you have a woman, hell, if you're successful and you don't have a woman, you should not trust women to be innocent victims. Don't do it. You went to like I was using the conversation earlier about me going to the restroom, and then when I returned to the table, I saw my woman wasn't there, and I stopped short at the bar instead of going back to the table because across from the table was about 11, 12, 13 women, and I didn't want any unnecessary conversations. I didn't even put myself in the vicinity. You see, and had I been in need of validation like many men, your subconscious is going to go over there just because you want to see if they're going to talk to you. But as a grown man, as a man who's in my king phase, I recognize the desperation. Even if they weren't broke, they still want to say something. And you don't want anything like that to mess up your relationship. Hell, you don't even have to have a relationship. These women, these days, will say something happened that didn't happen, and you lose your job. You lose your career. You get a bad reputation. You don't want that. So don't even be in their proximity. You got to elevate yourself away from these broke women. And the last thing you want to do is try to elevate a broke woman and bring her up. Let her stay on her level. If she mess with low-level dudes, let her stay on that level. You as a high-value man, go find your good woman that's worth it, with a low body count, that loves God, that's going to be cooperative, that's everything you need. And then you work with that. This is Uncle D. I love y'all, man. Good game. Somebody type good game in the chat.